Be the Talk, episode 151, featuring Aliha Nasrullah. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself, I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Aliha Nasrullah. Aliha, are you ready to talk?
I am very ready to talk. Let's get this started.
Aliha Nasrullah is from Lahore, Pakistan, where she has co-founded a nonprofit called the Barkat Foundation with her mother, Sabrina. They provide free basic health care to the underprivileged in Pakistan. Through their work, they've helped more than 5,700 patients since 2016, among other projects. Aliha currently lives in New York, where she is becoming a dentist at New York University. Aliha Nasrullah, welcome to the talk.
Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful.
Your TEDx Adelphi University talk is called A Child's Vision. Obviously, you're doing a lot of amazing work back in your home country. And I love, you don't know this, but my wife and I have done medical missions in Africa. So we know a little bit about the kind of work. We've done it off the grid, with limited electricity. So I feel like, I feel like I know firsthand. And for all of you in Talk Universe that may not have had the privilege to have had that experience off the grid, what it means is you don't have any electricity except what the generator provides. It is a different way of living and, very, very, very valuable place to get perspective. And in my case, and probably yours too, the stars at night were absolutely beautiful. So Aliha, please take us behind the talk.
Yes. So just giving a little intro about myself, like Nathan here very explicitly explained what we do. I run the Barkat Foundation with my mother in Lahore, Pakistan. That's the city that I'm from. And we try to offer free healthcare to patients in underprivileged villages that don't have access to medical care at all. So we conduct free medical camps to which the patients come. They can get consultations from doctors who are from major cities and well qualified, and they get medication for free as well. So that's the crux of the project for now.
That's the crux of the project. And what I love about your talk is you talk about several things. I love that that you came from a family that had the ability. They had the advantage of being able to really support you. And so it really sounds like you had, and I know that can be a very rare occurrence especially in your part of the world. So it was really a wonderful story of someone like me who had been raised in a medical family, had a lot of advantages, and you've done your best to make a difference for other people. We're really blessed to be a blessing to other people. And I love how you talk about all of your different things that you're so passionate about, photography and music and healthcare and, studies and food and all of these different things. And they always supported you. But then one day you embarked on an overly ambitious project with your 5 and 3-year-old siblings. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the project initially, I wanted to apply abroad, and I come from a good upper middle class family. So I went to good schools, etc. And there was this environment of being ambitious when it comes to in terms of studies. So we started off with just volunteering, just for my college resume to get better. But then while I was doing that really helped me kind of find this passion that I had, and that's where it all began. First, we didn't have any plans to start an organization or even start with any social work to begin with. But in 2011 and 2012, I fell sick and I got diagnosed with a metabolic disorder. And that year was a very hard time for me and my family because in Pakistan, we couldn't find a diagnosis and I had to take a year off from school, and it was terrible. But I always had this hope there that no matter what happens, if I do not get an answer from one doctor, I can move on to the next. But while I was in the hospital, I think this was my 5th hospitalization for that year, and I saw a family, and they had come from a village to the major city that I was in, and they had taken loan for a very normal sort of a disease. I mean, I'm privileged enough to call it normal. It was typhoid. but their little baby born was dying because of dehydration, and they couldn't even afford to like go to a better facility now because they just didn't have the means to do that. And if those people had the access to proper medical care within their villages, they could have at least prevented or at least like kept it very controllable. So that's where the idea began, that I just felt that I wasn't even just sheltered in the terms of like the monetary fund or like the monetary aspect of it, but even knowing that I have hope, or knowing that if this doesn't work, I can go to America or Norway or some other country. But so I just wanted to like extend my shelter in that regard. And that's where the project began.
So, I mean, the amazing empathy that you had, even though you had advantages growing up, you didn't have so much of an advantage when you were out of school for a year and when you were wrestling with what is this thing that's wrong with me right now and what can we do about it? And so, I mean, did that change something in you, just the months of wrestling with this, not knowing, and then thinking, hey, if I don't even know and I've got, the advantages of having a healthcare family that, and, all of that, look at everybody else around me. They don't have, they don't even have basic medical care. So can you describe, just the feeling of that and when it was that you realized, how long it was that you could really make a difference?
Of course, it was a very terrifying time for my family. Like, not were they only scared that they were going to lose their firstborn child, but I mean, I wasn't a child then, but whatever. They were about to like lose their firstborn. It was also very financially straining for us, to the point that I remember during that year, Eid is a holiday that us Muslims just celebrate. And like my parents did not have enough funds to like get new Eid clothes for my siblings because all of our funds had gone towards funding my medical expenses. But at least like I knew that there was something like outwardly wrong with me, like some weird sort of a medical condition that like it wasn't like something like the flu or typhoid. But with these people, I felt that they are suffering from illnesses that can easily be avoidable. Like you don't need to like lose your child over this. So that's where this all sparked. And the way I feel that my siblings, younger siblings, suffered, Ali, Emil, Purnia, and Mahin. Emil is 21 right now and she's becoming a medical doctor in Pakistan. And Purnia Mahin are like 12 and 7 at the moment. And the way they suffered, I felt that they need to understand that despite that suffering, we still come from a very privileged sort of a family, and we're still like so much better off regardless. So we need to like offer that sort of hope to others as well. And it's not just about taking, but also giving to others. So that's how the whole project started.
Aliha, I'm at the risk of making this a little bit personal. What I love about what you've done and what I love about your story, that's a little different than my story growing up in a kind of a medical household and healthcare oriented household. Back when I was growing up in the dark ages, like 35-ish years ago, we just didn't have the same word. We didn't have that word advantaged or privileged, yet the feeling was the same. So for me, I was growing up in a very rural area, pretty far away, a couple hours drive away from any major city. And so I knew and I could observe kind of the dynamics of kind of the haves and the have-nots. And I didn't know what to do with it. And, the people around me, my family, they kind of, I watched them kind of not really know what to do with it either. But today, and sometimes we use these words almost accusatory, but if we can just think about the meaning of the word, having an advantage, having, a privilege, and some people might debate what a privilege is, but just the fact that if you're blessed, then you need to be a blessing to other people. And the other direction, I think my point is, if you don't realize that you have the power, you can take up the power, you can do anything, you can be empowered, even if you are in an advantaged situation, particularly if you use it to help other people as you're doing. The response that is other than that is the response that I kind of fell into by default, which is just to feel kind of guilty. Just to feel kind of, just this.
I kind of get the feeling that you're coming from, because I felt the same way. Like I remember one of the nights. So you did
feel that also while you were.
The guilt was definitely there.
Okay.
One thing that I would like to point out is that the definition of privilege in Pakistan might be different from the definition of privilege in America.
What is the definition in Pakistan?
I mean, when we're comparing the definitions between the two countries, considering that that's a third world country that we're coming from. So even our good cities, of course, are very well developed, but at the same time, they're not as developed as, let's say, New York City. So Lahore might be the New York version of Pakistan, but then at the same time, we might be today's America's urban rural sort of an area. So I guess the definition kind of varies depending on where you're from.
Well, and so you're speaking that there's the fully developed world and there's the developing world, and that speaks right into why it was so difficult for you to get the proper diagnosis for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even though I feel that the doctors in Pakistan are very competent and very clinically advanced, the only thing is that we lack technologically, because of which we cannot get to the proper diagnoses that are necessary for patients.
Yeah.
So other than that,
Talk Universe, I just kind of inserting in here. I just love that we're able to talk with Aliha, and especially those of us that live in the United States. I mean, Pakistan has been a country that we have not necessarily been the greatest of friends with. And part of the reason that I have this podcast is I get to talk to people. We get to connect with people all over the world who are doing amazing things. So if you've ever volunteered at a soup kitchen or done what you could to help, that's what Aliha is doing. There are people all over the world that are in every nation of the world trying to make a difference, doing the best that they can. I love that we get to just kind of bypass all of the political, social, economic, all the divisions and all of the stuff just to connect person to person. So I just wanted to say that here for a second.
Like, this is actually one of the things that I feel that in Pakistan, especially the city that I come from, Lahore, and even other cities of Pakistan, I've noticed that we have a very strong sense of giving. And we have a very a knit sort of a community where we try to help each other out a lot. Like, and I think that one of the major reasons for that could be that the emphasis our religion puts on charity. So along with of course, the stigma associated with being a Muslim, but this is one of the things about my religion that has been my ground for as long as I can remember. So I feel that there are very different aspects involved, which makes our culture in general very giving. And I've never had a moment where I decided to do a fundraiser and I didn't get a good response from normal people who didn't even know me just from Facebook.
All right, Talk Universe. So listen to that. Whatever religion you belong to, it's probably a shared value of all religions. And so what that says to me is if you're Muslim, then step it up. If you are Christian, step it up. If you're Jewish, step it up. If you're Hindu, step it up. Because
that's exactly what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
Like, we need to break the barriers that are there that are making us stereotyping each other. So I would like people to see me as a walking, talking Muslim and see that I am also making a difference in the world. And my parents do not oppress me. And at the same time, I feel that I, through this little initiative, am playing my part in leaving a mark in the world once I die. So I don't know, I guess that's just my way of looking at it, and people might disagree, but that's the way I look at it.
Well, hey, the name of this podcast is Be the Talk, but in this case, instead of talking the talk, it's time to walk the walk.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. We're on the talk here today with Aliha Nasrullah. She gave a amazing talk called A Child's Vision at TEDx Adelphi University. In a moment, we are going to pivot over to you, Talk Universe, because it is time for the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with Aliha Nasrullah. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Aliha a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent branded talk. Are you ready, Aliha?
Sure. Let's get this.
First question, were you selected to speak or did you apply?
I applied.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
A blender.
How did that work for you?
I forgot my talk in the middle of the talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you recover from that?
I saw my friend sitting in the audience. It was really dark and his expression was very comforting and I just got back into it.
And when that happens, because that's pretty common, I've heard a really good tip that said that instead of just trying to mumble your way out of that, it's a good thing just to pause, take a drink of water, and then remember and then restart, because the editors can do magic if you'll just give them a little bit of space.
Oh, that's actually a very good point. I didn't know that.
That's not my point. I just get to do these interviews every day. So that's what the last person said.
Okay,
seem like irrelevant for your next talk, since you're busy at dental school, Aliha. All right. Here's the next question. What is a tip, a technique, or a tool that helped you?
Helped me with my talk?
Mm-hmm.
I used to remember the song "We Are the World, We Are the Children." I used to sing it every time. I used to feel flogged by the whole procedure, like the whole process of writing the talk, giving the talk. I don't know. I find my solace in that somehow.
Well, and that made it in the talk a couple of times too.
It did.
Yeah.
It did actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure did.
So I don't know. It was something that just reminded me back of home, and it just relaxed my nerves. So I think that was one of the things that I had to struggle with, my nerves.
Well, for sure. Yeah. So how did you work with that? Cause that's a big challenge for a lot of people.
Everybody is different. I just I like thinking about my family every time I'm stressed, and it just gives me the motivation that I need. So I think that was some of the things that the song helped me with. So it just reminded me of home, and that me being in grade 4 and standing on that stage singing that song. While my parents clapped to it while we were like in a choir at school. So I don't know, that is one of my happy memories that I go back to every time I'm stressed or not feeling that good about stuff. So
going back to a happy place.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I tried to do.
Find your happy place, Talk Universe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last question. What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
Strange. I forgot my talk during the talk. That was like one of the things that in the middle of the talk, I'm like, oh my God, I've forgotten this. It was a quotation that I was saying. So you need to say the quotation really well to make it impactful.
you gotta
I don't know. Those. I just all of a sudden I just got flustered, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But then I don't know. I started for a bit, and then everything just went ahead. Like thanks to that friend that I was looking at in the audience. But yeah.
We've been enjoying our conversation with Aliha Nasrullah. Her talk is called A Child's Vision. If you want to check out that talk, you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We will have a link to it. We will also have a link to the Barkat Foundation PK.org. Barkat, B-A-R-K-A-T, Foundation PK.org is the name of the foundation. You can check out that foundation live on our show notes page, or you can type either one of those in if you have a really good memory as well. In a moment, we're going to be right back with Aliha Nasrullah and her final word of advice to you, Talk Universe. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with the final word of advice from Aliha Nasrullah.
I would say, I know this is very cliche, but if you feel something really passionate about something, make sure you pursue it. For example, right now for me, dental school can be very challenging at times. But working for Barkat is the only motivation I have right now, and it kind of goes hand in hand. So unless you find that passion, I feel that life can be very dull. So you need to make your life colorful. Do it with your passion. That's all.
Aliha Nasrullah, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy academic studies and coming on the talk and sharing your wisdom with us.
You're most welcome. The pleasure was all mine.
Thanks for listening to Be The Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.